That's my baby. That's my baby.
We're going at it at 110%.
I just want 5 minutes of happiness, please. Just give me 5 minutes.
And they scored! They did it!
Left, feet left.
What the hell was that?
Oh, yeah! What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, that's what I'd like to know, too. What the fuck are we talking about around here on A2D? Programming alert. Breaking news. I don't know what the hell goes on around here. I have a full-time job, and I just follow orders. But apparently, there's been a programming change. There's a special show coming on at like 11:05 or something like that tonight. So we're gonna have a quick little 45-minute episode, I guess, of whatever the hell we're calling ourselves now. Is it still the weekly roundup? I think it is. At this point, it might be shoot me in the head so I can kill myself before the baby gets here in December. Oh, wait, don't let the wife hear me say that.
But we're going to
try to shooting yourself in the head. I don't know how we were going to segue that into an Eagles poll question, but I tried. The Eagles' offense will be better than the defense, agree or disagree. Expectations are one side or the other might make you want to shoot yourself in the head. At the end of it, if Jalen Hurts takes the next step and the offense looks really, really good all year, I think we know the defense will be pretty damn good. We're all going to be pretty happy. But if something happens, injuries and whatever craziness, every time this happens in Philly, where we have the dream team, and hell, I know we didn't mention that. I know the dream team wasn't thrown, but good Lord, I think it was Miles Sanders that came pretty damn close to saying the dream team. Correct? I know he said guy on the right looks like Ari Lemon. No idea who that is, but Mario, how's your next movie coming? I know you're a movie producer. I've seen a couple of your films. It's good. He's good stuff. You gotta go watch one. He's got a poker film that is phenomenal, Daniel. You gotta go watch it. I don't know who is that guy, Mario. Maybe you could spread some light on it as a movie director. Has he been in one of your films? The guy on the right, by the way, you know very well. I just have a beard and a hair now that I didn't have, at the beginning of my 2D career. But I'm the same guy I've always been, Mario. We used to play poker together. I can't believe you've forgotten this, Mario. Cerrito the third.
How about you tell everybody what the poll question is brought to you by?
Oh, well, yeah, at this point, who gives a fuck? No, I'm kidding. I'm sorry. Alan was supposed to tune in tonight, and I hope he's tuning in. If not, we're going to get Alan on hopefully before the Vikings game, week 2 in prime time. It'll be a great time to have Alan on. But Alan moved down to Delaware, really busy now with the new athletic director gig and all of his real estate stuff. But he's still got all the connections in New Jersey. And if you're looking to buy or sell a home, if you're looking for a change in career brokerage, you contact Alan Foy of eXp Realty LLC at 302-682-8820. Visit him at alan.foy@exprealty.com. And Alan, where he's also really good is, he's licensed in Jersey. He's licensed, I believe, now in Delaware. But he knows realtors all over in the entire area, Maryland and Pennsylvania and all these surrounding areas that are going to, all these people that follow A2D and you live in all those areas. He knows people if you need, any type of connection or any type of conversation to be had about, real estate or buying a house or selling your house, anything like that. Contact him and he'll hook you up with the right person to talk to in your area. Because that's really important, especially nowadays with what we're going through in this economy right now. With the housing market, you want to make sure you're getting the best deal. And Alan's the guy to talk to. Alan Foy. What do you mean, which Alan? Alan Iverson.
Exactly. But for me, with the poll question, I am going to go with agree. I think they're both going to be improved. The offense was pretty good last year at certain points. It's all going to come down to, like we said, Hurts. Then you got the defense. The defense has a lot of young talent. We got to see how they do in the new makeshift scheme that they're doing now that they've added certain pieces. Gardner Johnson lets them go. man coverage in the back end. So I got to see how they do first. For right now, I'm going to go agree. But any moment, I could switch to disagree depending on how week 1 and week 2 go.
You're such a flip-flopper.
No, I got to see how it goes because we didn't see much of the defense, and I at least know what the offense is like. So I'm going to stick with the offense right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if it winds up being the defense because that defense has the potential to be top 5, I feel like.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think we this is what concerns me about this team. I think more than anything, and I know people are going to throw around when Nnamdi Asomugha and that whole thing happened, and we had the dream team label when it completely imploded under Andy Reid. I think we bring up things like that because we're so used to being disappointed as Philadelphia sports fans. But what concerns me, I think, especially on the offensive side, it's like we all like AJ Brown, and he's supposed to be the sexy new piece to this whole thing, and that new toy that you bought, he's the new game system. I've got the Xbox 360, and that's like 3 models old, right? There's been like 3 new Xboxes since 2019. It's like you got all the new models now on your offense. It's like 2015, BMW or Corvette or something like that, and then you upgrade to the new 2022 model. You're like, man, this is so much nicer than I previously had. And you got all these new fancy expectations on a big, but at the end of the day, it's not going to be this special thing that you see happen, and we go win all these football games and look so awesome offensively, and gain all these yards and score all these points, and then do the complete opposite defensively where we don't let anyone else score. Right? Those things, as good as they look on paper, the expectations that you have for them, there's so much more that always goes into it than just what it looks like on paper. And for that reason, I can't be confident enough to wrap my head around that what I see on paper for what the offense could be or what it can be. I feel like them is going to flop. And if I've got to pick one side to flop more than the other, I think the offense is the one that I'm worried about flop. Maybe not just because of the Jalen Hurts thing when we talk about the elephant in the room, but just because there's a lot that goes into trying to make all of this work. You've got A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert, and now all these pieces that you weren't used to having this many playmakers, and you just think it's all naturally going to flow. But you have to work really hard sometimes to make all of this work, and kind of be sync together, right? And make it all kind of naturally, flow together where it all looks in sync, and it doesn't look like you're force feeding, one guy because, A.J. Brown's out on the field and we have to get him the ball. Those can't be the things. I don't want to just see Jalen trying to force passes to A.J. Brown because he's there. I need to see all of this work the way it's supposed to be designed to work within the system. And I guess until I see it all happen in the regular season, I'm going to be worried about, it being something that I look and go, wow, the defense could be really good. The offense could be really good. But let's be honest. What are the realistic chances of both of them being that good? So I think the defense is going to be better than the offense. I'll disagree to the poll because I have more confidence in what this defense is going to be. I know that if this defense stays healthy, I know this defense will be good. The defense has all you've added some bells and whistles to the defense, but the main core of the defense and all the main pieces and everything you want your defense to be, it's been there for a while now. Fletcher Cox, and you want to win up front, and you've even added more pieces up front now with Jordan Davis, and all and these things that make you go, okay, wow, we were already really good up front. Now we're even better. You added more help in the secondary with James Bradbury, right? And you're already really good in your secondary to begin with. And you added Bradbury. Not only that, you went out and found a way to add the guy from the Saints, Gardner Johnson, who, not only go play safety, but he can do a little bit of, he can cover and be another actual defensive back that's going to cover somebody, if they put 4 or 5 receivers on the field and try to spread it out on you, So I look at the defense and I go, yeah, I've got confidence you guys stay healthy. That's a top 10 maybe even a top 5 unit. Top 10 might even be saying, wow, that's like the bottom of the barrel of the expectations. That could be a top 5 unit there if you put it all together and they stay healthy and they do what they're supposed to do. And I think they should. I think my biggest question mark with the defense is really the defensive coordinator, to be honest. And I know he's a sexy candidate for head coaching positions around the league. I know he was interviewed again this offseason for a head coaching candidate, for a head coaching opening. I get it. But, there seems to be this thing where if you're like some like good looking young guy with like a pretty smile, like you get interviewed for a head coaching position. I don't know what the hell it is, but that's the way it seems to go. Like he's good looking, he's young, and he's got a pretty smile. I'm not gay. I'm just saying, that seems to be the way that that this goes. And if I was gay, that's a good looking man. So, hey, either way you want to look at it, if we got some people in the chat room, hey, you tell me, am I spot on? Is he a good looking dude? I think he is. And I think it helps play into that, that whole, image that he has in the coaching circles. I'm going to get in trouble for this. Watch. But hey, we only got 45 minutes. Let's have some fun. We'll be suspended next week. Sorry. But I think if the offense puts everything together and everything does what it's supposed to do offensively, the offense could be really special too. Yeah.
And we already had the number one Russian offense last year. The only side of the ball that needs to improve really with the offense is the passing game. And that's why it all lies on
consistently throwing the ball down the field.
How well Hurts does. And when I look at bringing in A.J. Brown, I think it's better not just for A.J. Brown. I think it's better for Devontae Smith. Now Devontae Smith's going to get a lot of those easier looks not being double covered because you got Brown on the other side. If anything, Brown's going to get double covered. It's going to leave Devontae Smith single covered or with better coverage with just the safety there. He's going to get a lot more catches than he did last year. You could see that 957 touchdown year last year. He might not get the same amount of touchdowns, but he's going to get, I think, a lot more yardage where he could get to 1,200 with the better looks that he's going to get within the offense. And on defense, like we've talked about the dream team from years ago where it just imploded.
Let's not. Can we not?
Yeah, well, that's because we signed so many players. But this time it's a little different. We signed a couple of people. We didn't sign a lot, and then a lot.
Most of this is homegrown, right? It's all been developed. We've really worked hard to develop it.
Yeah, and we drafted. I feel like so far we've had a good draft. There's a lot more time to go to actually distinguish if they pan out or not. But just on paper, it looks like they are going to be good draft picks. You've added a lot of homegrown talent on defense and on offense too. I feel like we filled a lot of holes. And with the defense, I feel like other than what you just said, defense coordinator, I think it comes down to getting to the quarterback, getting the sacks, getting the rushes, getting the opposite team's quarterback on the run so he makes mistakes. Because we kind of struggled with that last year. We did great 2 years ago, but we struggled last year. And that's going to be the goal. We get Brandon Graham back. We got to see how he does. We added Hassan Reddick. And we have Sweat, who was a injury replacement in the Pro Bowl, so he had a decent season. If they all stay healthy, they all put together a great season, I could see him being the unit, and that's why I said I could see that disagree. I'm just going with the side of the ball that I know is constant right now, and that's the offense. And I'm going off the thought process of Hurts will take the step forward next year, and we can have the number 3 Russian offense, and then maybe a mid passing offense, because we had I think our passing offense was in the 20s last year.
Yeah, I mean that's where it's like. Excuse me as I hit the vape. Got to hit the vape every once in a while. Just one of those things, right? But the passing offense again, I don't feel like I need to force it. I want the offense to be able to have the ability where if you get caught in a game where you kind of have to slug it out with somebody and throw the ball 40 times a game, I feel comfortable doing that now. I don't necessarily want the offense to have to be built around the idea that that's what you're doing, but I need that to be the thing where if you get caught in that position, you feel okay. Where I feel like last year you knew if you got caught in that position, you were in trouble. And you saw it all throughout the year. Anytime you played, really, really good teams with good defenses that put you in that spot, that's when we struggled most. And you didn't beat a team, with a winning record, teams that finished the year with a winning record. We didn't beat a team with a winning record. You got to the playoffs, and we know what happened there with kind of it really being ugly at times. And then we all heard the sound bites about Jalen not being able to read the defense and all that. Well, those are the things that have to change. I'm fine with you throwing the ball 25 times a game if I know that if it came down to it and I need you in crunch time or whatever happens, I don't have to worry about your ability to be able to go beat a good defense as they mix up your looks, as they mix up the looks on you, because you've adjusted from being that guy that struggled to read all that stuff last year to, you've got it figured out at the line of scrimmage and you know where you're going to go with the football and we're going to make it happen. But I don't know that, and I don't think any of us know that. I think we all want to sit here and hope that's the case with Jalen, and he's a good kid that works hard. So I think on his end, you root for him, to be that guy that figures it all out and kind of becomes that guy for you. But let's be honest with the way most of these stories work. When you're like, oh, he's a good kid and he works hard and I'm rooting for him. Yeah, there's something called talent when it comes to professional sports, and you either have it or you don't. And being a good kid that works hard and I'm rooting for you doesn't get me to where I need you to be as a player in order for me to go, yeah, that's the guy. And, I'll even go, I'll say I'll go on a limb, because I think one of the other things we wanted to talk about and say, will Jalen Hurts take the next step this year? Well, I guess we've got to be specific about how we're defining the next step, and what would be your next step. Like if you're saying, well, does Jalen Hurts take the next step? What does that mean for you? What is the next step?
I think there's two different routes you can go. The one route is him doing better against teams with above 500 record, which he was only 1-11 in the 2 seasons. Is that route, or there's the other route where production-wise,
good number, thank you. 1-11. See, I didn't have the number, but I knew it wasn't good. But he's 1-11 against teams with winning records. Yeah, that's not good.
There's that one, and then there's the production one, because could he improve? But then that the above 500 record against teams above 500 might be not as good. Like
less is more. One? See, I'm with you. I'm with you there. Right. Like, could his could he miss, like, I think people are looking at Jalen Hurts and go, oh, well, like, where is his numbers going to jump to this year? I don't know if his numbers need to jump to anywhere. That's not what needs to happen for you to prove to me, that you're the guy. I mean, yeah, I guess if you went and threw for 5,000 yards and threw 50 touchdowns, sure, I'm not going to argue with that production. Yeah, you're the guy, but we all know that's not going to happen. But I don't, people are, oh, can he throw for over 4,000 yards, and can he do this? Can he do that? I mean, sure, I guess, but that's not what I'm looking at. Anybody can throw for 4,000 yards if they're playing from behind long enough. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just a silly statistic to look at, because it doesn't tell the whole picture. A lot of guys throw for 4,000 yards and they win 6 games in a year, because when you're down, by a touchdown for most of every single game, you're going to be throwing the ball most of the time. So yeah, you're going to throw for a lot of yards because you're always chasing teams, and that's the way it goes. So I don't think we're going to be chasing teams this year. I think, I think we're going to be playing from ahead a lot. So it's not like I need to sit here and say, yeah, he needs to put up this type of stat line. I'm not worried about that. But as Ted says below, a consistent pocket passer, making the reads, not panicking. Yeah, I don't need you scrambling out of empty pockets for no reason outside of the fact that you like to scramble and use your legs. That's silly. I know, like, he's an athlete and there's all these, I get that, but like those things, like Steve Young learned that, right? And like Steve Young, oh God, I'm not comparing him to Steve Young. Trust me, I would never do that. I'm not like enough of a Jalen supporter to compare that, but what I'm saying is, yeah, Steve Young was a guy that could like just beat you with his legs anytime he wanted to, but Bill Walsh forced him to learn how to play within the pocket and understand how to play within the West Coast system that was that offense. Your legs will help you whenever you need them to help you, but don't just be that guy that's running around just because, oh, I can run, I can go run for the first down here. Great, yeah, I sure you can, But that's not the way the system's designed. The system's designed where Jerry Rice is going to be open 15 yards down the field, put the ball on the money, let him make the catch for the first down, and let's move on with this drive, because you might run for the first down and fumble the ball, or you might run for the first down and get hit and hurt yourself. There's all these things that go into that aren't as safe as you just staying in the pocket and making the read and making the throw the way the system's designed. So, yeah, like from that perspective, that's what you want to see with Jalen. Like, I love the fact that Jalen has these things that he can do, like you look at a lot of quarterbacks, not every quarterback can do that. Great. There's a lot of things he can do with his legs that make you go, yeah, that's a special attribute to have. But that alone doesn't win you anything in this league. Yeah. And there's guys with a hell of a lot more talent from a throwing perspective, from an arm talent perspective, that have struggled to win games in big situations, because there are more legs than they are arms, than Jalen Hurts has. Lamar Jackson's a guy that's fighting for a contract right now, and the Ravens don't want to budge because every time he gets to a big situation late in the year in a playoff game, they realize his arm isn't going to win them the football game. And if at some point you're the quarterback and your arm isn't going to win me the football game, what are you doing for me?
And he wants a fully guaranteed contract. He doesn't just want the contract. He wants fully guaranteed, and they're trying to beat him.
And you're not in that exact spot with Jalen. But you are in a spot with Jalen where at this year, one way or the other, you have to evaluate the contract situation and what you're going to do, because he's not just going to play on a one-year deal next year. You're either signing into some sort of extension or you're not. Or there's some sort of sign and trade thing that happens if you find the right situation, I guess. But that's what you're in right now. This is a contract year for Jalen Hurts.
And I think the Eagles are in that same sense too, because they got the 2 first-round picks next year. They want to be able to know, are they going to have to use those to go after a quarterback, or they already had the quarterback, and they can use those to kind of fill holes that they have after this season. It's kind of like,
or you're swinging a trade for Derek Carr, or you trade for because as we've seen every year now, Matthew Stafford's that whole thing. Get traded to the Rams, win a Super Bowl. Now Russell Wilson get traded to the Broncos this year. They signed to a big extension. That seems to be the market's kind of swinging. They might have opportunities and they have resources to trade the guy that you want, and that option might be there too, especially at the end round pick and Jalen instead of deal. Those things will present themselves on the table. But yeah, I mean, I think we're on the same page there, Daniel. It's a situation where internally, I think, fans, what us fans think at the end of the day. Internally, there has to have been a conversation, or there has to be a conversation with Jalen, with Howie, with Jeffrey Lurie, with everybody in management, with Nick Sirianni, as far as things that they need to see him do this year, the steps that they need to see him take if we're going to have this conversation about a contract extension, things like that. Because if you listen to fans, will be like, "Oh, well, I want to throw for 4,000." Okay, well, I don't. If he's throwing for over 30 touchdowns, we're in a position where defense is giving up a lot of points and really struggling at times where they probably shouldn't. So let's, I don't care about that. I care about the. I care about, and I brought up earlier, he's there's no pass rush, there's no pressure on him per se, but he's still out of an empty pocket, and trying to go, I'm going to either I'm going to make a throw, as I get outside the pocket, or I'm going to go run for the first down or whatever. And a lot of the plays, what's funny about him is you'll watch it happen, and then he runs 18 yards for the first down, and people are like, "Yeah, what a great play!" But you're like, that's not a good play. It's not a good play for you to go run out of an empty pocket. I don't care how many how many yards you now gain on the run. You can't just run out of empty pockets and think, okay, I can go run for the first down here and high five. No, not high five. That play was not designed like that. And, as much as that works, you live and die by that, again, you're going to die with it at times. You're going to get the big situation games. Running out of an empty pocket doesn't lead to the situation you thought it was going to lead to. And instead of that 18-yard gain in a first down, you fumble the ball, you get smoked and hurt yourself, or you're just not, 3rd and 8, and only got 6 yards to do, and we're punting. Regardless, those things are going to come back to bite you at times when you don't bite you if you don't figure out how to, avoid those situations. You know, I'm glad that he can scramble out. Sure, if there's things that allow, you know, that awesome, phenomenal. Need that in a quarterback. I need you to just fucking scramble out of an empty pocket and give me a fucking migraine headache every Sunday afternoon that I'm walking, just because something special might happen if you do. Like that's silly, and I don't expect that. I think last year, the first 10, 11 weeks, you started like, what is it doing? Like, why? It got better, but it still wasn't ever fixed. But it got better throughout the year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That needs to be. I gotta look like you want to beat teams from the pocket. I've got to watch you with my eyes, look like you want to stand in the pocket and shred up that field. You've got in your arm talent to do.
Yeah, I think with me.
What?
No, I said I think with me, what I want to see to shorten it up is I want to see better percentages with his throws, with his reads. I want him to see actually be able to find the open man instead of waiting so long and having to run. And the big thing is him on third down. I want to see him succeed on third down, have a great percentage on there. He doesn't have to have 4,000 yards. I'd be fine with 3,000 yards, 500 yards rushing, and then have a really good touchdown interception ratio. If he can do that and then have a better record against above 500 teams, that's a win for me. It's just, it depends on what's your definition of being improved at the end of the season. Like, we could be at 13-4, and he could play bad. Oh, he could play better and have a great year, and we could still be 9-8. Like, what's your definition of better for him, for the team, compared to just the overall team aspect? It all depends on what you want to see in that. And I feel like that's what I want. I want him to do better. I'm kind of taking him out of how the team does per se, but I want to see him play a lot better against these strong teams, and he has a chance to do so because it's not with how the season goes. He has those big games kind of broken up a little bit rather than all lined up at the same time. And I think seeing him against the Vikings week 2 is going to be interesting because I feel like they're going to be on the rise as well, and that'll be a good test on prime time for Hurts against a much improved Vikings team.
I know you're a Cousins guy, so who's a better quarterback, Kirk Cousins or Jalen Hurts?
I think right now Kirk Cousins.
And I'm not a big Cousins guy, but I would agree with you. I think Kirk Cousins too. But I also think they're very similar in the sense that when they play average teams to below average teams, Kirk Cousins will fucking destroy the shit out of somebody. You know, he'll go through for 350 and 3 touchdowns and not think anything of it. The minute he's playing Green Bay on Monday Night Football, things look a little bit different. And, you know, like that's where I'm at with Jalen. Like, is Kirk Cousins a bad quarterback? No, he's not. But do I want to be stuck in a situation where a guy like Kirk Cousins is my quarterback for 5 or 6 years? No, I don't think I want to do that either because I'm not a guy that has confidence in Kirk Cousins ever winning me more than 10 games in a regular season, 11 games. Like, oh, great, you might go win me the NFC North. Good for you. But you're not winning me a Super Bowl. And that's what you're playing for. And if I'm giving you contract extensions for, you know, as a quarterback with big money, that's kind of what I'm paying you for. Yeah, I know there's worse options than Kirk Cousins, but I was a fan of the deal when the Vikings first signed him. At this point, it seems like it's a couple years past due for them to just be like, okay, it is what it is. We had a window. It didn't work out, whatever. But I'm not a fan of giving a guy like that. What did they give him? Close to $40 million or something ridiculous in this most recent extension? You know, like if you end up in that position with Jalen, I can't justify that contract. I just can't. And that's where you're at with these QB contracts. If you want to talk about, you know, signing that second deal, you know, you better have a lot of studliness attached to you to get that sort of deal, or else if I'm Howie right now and Howie being as good as he is, Yeah, it's something like that'll happen. You're not wrong. Rager will drop a punt and the Vikings will lose that game. That'll be ironic. But yeah, I mean, if I'm Howie and where I'm at, I trust Howie a lot more to say, okay, why go give this guy that contract, Howie? I trust you actually to find a way to take those 2 first-round picks and Jalen Hurts. And if you're saying those are your 3 things that you have to, those assets, that's what you have to now turn that into your next franchise quarterback. I think I trust you to turn that into a better option at franchise quarterback than what I currently have. But that's just where I'm at right now. Come week 6, my tune could change. Those things are going to change week to week. This is why it's a make or break year. But I look at Jalen and I go, I don't think he's going to play poorly. It's not like I think Jalen's going to fall on his face. I just don't think I'm going to see enough progress with my own eyes for me to go, yeah, like that's the guy now. Like you win 13 games and win the NFC. You win 13 games, you're the top seed in the NFC and go into the playoffs with home field advantage. Yeah, you're the guy. Now I'll eat my words and I'll wait. I'll be pounding the table for a contract extension come January. But
unless your name's Jimmy Garoppolo, but then that's a different story.
Same type of situation, right? You look at it, you go like Baker Mayfield, same sort of thing. Like, are they bad quarterbacks? No, but at some point you just get to a point where you realize this guy's taking me as far as it's going to go, right?
And they're not going to be worth the contract you're going to have to get him, especially with Hurts. You got this year, you got next year, and I think you got a year after that before it's his contract year. So you're using this year.
Well, next year would be the option year, right? Because this is year 4 of the contract.
No, this is year 3 right now.
We're going into. So yeah, next year's year 4, right? So then you have next year, and I believe next year there's not an option for a 5th year. I don't think, correct? Or is there an option for a 5th year?
I'll bring it up right now.
But still, if you're talking about next year being the final year on the contract, guys don't usually go into that final year without some sort of resolution, right? Like, if there's a 5th year option, you're either picking up that option or you're not by the time we get into next year.
Next year's his contract year.
Right. So, but what I mean by that is, like, that means this year's his contract year, right? Because, like, this is the year that he's kind of playing for that extension. Yeah, as a player, you never want to end up in that final year of your deal where you're almost like in a prove it year. Now I have to go ball out this year because, if you're in his situation, you want to ball out enough this year where you prove that, hey, I'm worth that extension now, and then we don't have to worry about that going into the final year of the deal.
Yep. No.
I mean, that's just usually how all of these deals work out. Like Joe Flacco went through that. Remember, Flacco ended up in a situation where the Ravens didn't want to give him the extension. He wanted the extension. They went into the final year of that contract with no deal, and he went and won a Super Bowl in the final year of that contract, and then they were forced to give him $200 million. Looks like a really bad deal for the Ravens in hindsight because he wasn't really any good after that, except for maybe the first 2 years. But that 6-year, $200 million, whatever the fuck it was, you're like, yeah, that kind of the final 3-4 years of that deal were just really bad. But hey, that's what happens when you end up in that situation on both sides. Joe trusted himself and said, okay, I'll go bet on myself. And he won a Super Bowl. And now, the Ravens end up in a tough spot. But if Joe doesn't play well that year or the Ravens don't win a Super Bowl, Flacco's the one in a tough spot. He doesn't get that extension. He doesn't make that money, but that's the situation. I don't know if either side wants to end up in that situation. Does either party want to really end up in that spot? I don't think you do.
But let's transition from that to, of course, our NFL preview for the Eagles. We're going to break down each week and what we think of the schedule. But before we do that, how about you tell them about becoming an A2D member?
Yeah, becoming an A2D member. Only $9.99 a month, so it's the best deal out there you could find for any of these packages. There's a ton of them that advertise themselves. But by far, this is the best package you're going to find. $9.99 a month, and the perks include appearances on shows. You've got members-only streams. You got shout-outs. But the most important part, if you're a degenerate like me, is all the weekly sports picks from guys like Moss Money and Willie Vegas, 2 of the most respected members here of the A2D Radio family. And, experienced gamblers that have been doing this for a long time and all different styles. They got some straight picks. You got your single bets for your single bettors out there. They know how to build parlays for you parlay guys out there. I'm a guy that kind of likes to combine a little bit of both, do some of your singles with your parlays and see how it all works out, and you just have some fun with it, right? you know how it goes. Daniel, you're a guy like you're like me. You're a degenerate. You be betting on European soccer and shit. You know how it goes. So
yep, you know it. But
you had money on Chelsea earlier, didn't you? Chelsea fucked you earlier today, didn't you?
I'm not betting today. I almost forgot about today. I stayed off of it because I was too scared with some of the picks today. I'll be doing tomorrow.
One of my guys told me to take Chelsea to score over a half a goal in the first half, and it was like minus 180.
Yeah,
and they didn't score a goal in the first half, so that would have been a bad beat.
Yeah, well, they won on it. They lost 2-1, so that's all you need to know about that.
Oh man, yeah. So Jesus, even them on the money. Oh, that was a rough day.
Yeah, but right now we're gonna do the preview for the Eagles. Then we're gonna end up with a little bit of the MLB playoff race talk. And we're gonna be
a weird line in this game. I'm glad you brought this up, Daniel. Tell me if this line isn't weird. Yeah. The Eagles are only favored by 4 in this game.
They're away, right? Yeah, they're away. I'm not surprised.
Yeah, but the Lions stink.
They're supposed to be improved from last year. They're the home team, so they're giving the home team 3 points automatically. That means
automatically. So you're only getting an extra point. But if you're supposed to be like that good, like that line worries me a little bit. Like I thought the Eagles would be favored by more than just like you said, the home team. Like it's like like it's one of those things where it's like that all of a sudden becomes a sneaky game. Don't just snooze on that game to start the year and think, oh, the Lions are garbage. That's an easy win, and then go get beat week 1. Like that's, I don't know. I saw the line on that game earlier. I was like, that's weird to me. That line is really weird.
Yeah, but then we're going to finish up with the MLB playoff race. We're going to be on until 11:15. We got 10 more minutes to go on than we did before, so stick around until 11:15. But let's get started with this. You just talk about the Detroit Lions. I feel like they're going to be much improved. Jared Goff has looked really good in the preseason. They gained some pass rushers in Aiden Hutchinson. I like Malcolm Rodriguez, a.k.a. Rodrigo, on that defense. I still think that we're going to win this game. I'm going to go by 10 to 14 points because I feel like just overall on offense and defense, we're much better. Whereas I feel like that Lions defense is still going to need improvement. And I feel like on offense, we got to see how they do with the passing game. I feel much better going with the Eagles here, especially with the over, just like you said. I'm going with the Eagles with the -4 or 4.5, whatever it is there. But the Eagles should be the favorite. And it's weird that's at +4 for the Lions, but I still think that it's nothing to worry about.
I think like Vegas is so weird with these things. Like they're on the something with this game is closer than I think people think it is. You know what I mean? Like you might win by a field goal or something, and Detroit covers that line. You know what I mean? We'll have to see where that line moves to as we get to Sunday.
I could see that everybody's buying into the Hard Knocks hype. I can see that, that aspect.
Jared Goff is Jared Goff. Like, so like this is what I'm talking about. Like either guys stink or they don't. Like it's not like Jared Goff's magically going to turn into fucking Dan Marino now that he got to the line. It's like Jared Goff stinks. Like he's garbage. Like, great, they were a 2-win team last year. So what do you win? Like 6 games this year? Ooh, holy hell! What an improvement! Like, I mean, like, good lord! Like, you should obviously love that game. That's a primetime Monday night game. Love. This game had a lot of hype coming in here. So, like, it's one of those teams that everybody seems nationally speaking, and a lot of eyes are going to be on them. Going to be a lot of intrigue. And a game like that, early on, tells you that they feel like, hey, the Eagles go make you want to get them in spots as much as possible. I mean, I think we're better than the Vikings, too. I think there's very few teams in football that have a better roster than us. But those things don't always play out the way that, you just look on paper and say they should.
Like I like our defense better than I do theirs.
What is it about Kirk Cousins always fucking killing us? I mean, Kirk Cousins just destroys the shit out of us.
Yeah. He always does good against us, but I feel like we still win. It's just that he does good against our defense. And I feel confident against their defense at the end of the day. And I think that's what's going to be the difference maker in a matchup like this is our offense against their defense, because I feel like our defense can hold their own against Cousins with the weapons that he has. And who knows, Dalvin Cook might get hurt like he always does. And
I'll tell you what.
And then they got Irv Smith coming back from a season-long injury. They got to see how he does. They might try and incorporate him early. And I just feel good about these first two games.
You know what's crazy about it, though? Two teams that we always say every time we play the Vikings, Kirk and then he goes and smacks the shit out of us like 41-14 or something stupid like they did a couple years back when we went to Minnesota. And Lions, the same thing. You're like, the Lions, I know, Lions, and they give us problems, but we'll win that game. And then the Lions. I mean, we lost at Detroit in Doug Peterson's first year. Now, not that we were good that year, but we lost at Detroit to a Detroit team that wasn't any good. And then the year that we had big expectations in 2020 or whatever with Carson, Detroit came to Philly and they beat us there. And it's like these are the for whatever reason, there's some bad mojo with these teams. Like we have problems with teams like Detroit and Minnesota. I don't think did we sell our soul to the football gods? It's like that movie Little Nicky. Like you just sell your soul to the devil when we beat the Vikings and ever since then it's like, yep, fuck you. They'll go kick your ass now from this point forward.
But then don't forget that we kicked their ass last year in a game when it kind of started the winning streak for us, where we thought we weren't going to make the playoffs, so then we whooped the Detroit, and then we started to win some games, and we were able to make the playoffs. It all started with that Detroit game. That
doesn't necessarily make me feel any better after Detroit's been kind of having our number, and then we go and smack Detroit last year. You think Detroit forgot about that?
No.
I actually forgot about how bad that game was because you're like, it's Detroit. They're so bad. But, yeah, that was a good win. But then you think the guys in that locker room for Detroit didn't forget about how much of a smackdown the Eagles gave them? And you think they ain't like, hey, like week one, let's go. Like, if you're Detroit, you're licking your chops for a game like this. You're like, ooh, they got all types of hype. You know what I mean? Those are the sexy Super Bowl pick. People think they might win the NFC. Ooh, they're coming to, like, Detroit week one. Ooh, Detroit's licking their chops. That game scares me. I don't know.
That week 3 game we got against Washington, that's an important
And then
game.
week 4 against Dougie P. This is even more of a reason for it to scare you because you could look ahead and go, you got Carson and Washington week 3, and Washington plays Jacksonville and Detroit the first couple weeks, so they're kind of in a similar position. I look at it and go, we should both be 2-0 by the time we meet up week 3. But weird things happen in the NFL, especially those first few weeks, and things are just, it's a little bit nutty. So who knows what happens there? But you look, if you need it, you look ahead, you got Washington with Carson, then you got Jacksonville with Dougie P. Those are 2 games you're really looking forward to, right? I mean, you would think.
I think I'm worried about the Washington game. I'm not worried about the Jacksonville game because I feel like we just match up great against Jacksonville. But I am worried.
I don't think Jacksonville's that good.
And we've talked about this with Washington. They got an overall better team than they've had. Wentz could wind up playing well and get one over on us in Washington, D.C. I feel like it's a situation where it could be one where we split the series, where both home teams win because how their defense is. Their defense is really stacked. On offense, if Wentz is hot, they play well.
Yeah.
If he's not,
regardless of what Carson is as a player, whether Carson, I know Carson isn't. We all know he's never going to be that guy that he was, that we thought he was ever going to be when he was here. But let's look at who's played quarterback for Washington over the past 3 years, and like you're just trying to insult my intelligence if you're going to try to spin this narrative that Carson isn't better than anything that they've even had close at that quarterback position over the past 3 years. He is a massive upgrade. And if they can go to the playoffs with Tyler Heineke or whatever the fuck the kid's name was at quarterback, Carson's in a decent spot.
I got Jacksonville. I got us winning that.
And then you go to Arizona. I mean, that doesn't get any easier, does it? You know what I'm saying? Like you got to be on your P's and Q's here early on in the season because you could end up in a tough spot if you're not.
Yes. Yeah, they have a better pass rush, but Detroit has a better offense.
I'm with you. I'm just looking at it, and I'm just saying, and Jacksonville's much improved. Jacksonville's one of the most improved teams in football. I still don't think they're good, but they're much improved. They might go win 7 games this year, and you're like, wow, that's like way, okay. Even that might exceed expectations from what you thought.
And then what we always know with Arizona is
there's no. I mean, look at those games in the first 5 weeks, Daniel. Like all 5 of those games are like, I don't see any easy wins. You know.
Yeah, and then the Arizona game, we know how they are. They always start out hot in September, October, and once they get to November, that's when Arizona starts to cool down a little bit, and they go downward. So
that game's in Arizona,
and it's in Arizona, so they could be a tough team to beat there. But we did play them well 2 years ago, where we barely lost at the end of the game. So to me, that could be a flip of a coin. But I feel like with Hopkins there, I still favor us, because it's going to be, of course, Marquise Brown and A.J. Brown as the wide receivers. And Marquise Brown is known for dropping a lot of passes. So as long as our pass rush can get the Murray causing the forced throws, I feel like it's a good chance to come out of there with a victory.
Yeah. I mean,
so week one's not going to be a cakewalk. No game.
No, I'm with
should be a cakewalk.
That game where I think that game, like I'm telling you that, like, because week 1, that's when a lot of fluky upsets happen. Like week 1 and week 17, right? Or week 18 now. But it's always the first game of the year and that final week of the year. That's when a lot of fluky, weird upsets happen, because teams are just kind of feeling everything out. And what you think a team might be, they not necessarily are. Or a team that you didn't think was going to be so much, they've kind of put it together. And the preseason doesn't really tell you any of that stuff. It's all just kind of smoke and mirrors to me. So, like, yeah, I mean, that's a game. And, like, I mean, really, like, you're in a spot where you lose week 1 to Detroit, and it's like, you're like, oh, man, like, that's the last thing you wanted to happen. Now you're kind of in, geez, it's just, you got all this hype, all these expectations, all these things that are supposed to be really good for you. And it's just not a good look to have that happen week 1. And then with the rest, you got Minnesota week 2 in prime time. Doesn't get any easier, right? Then you're going to Washington, and then you got Jacksonville, which I think more than anything with the Jacksonville game, it's just the story that builds up to it with Doug Peterson. And I mean, people are going to be talking about that whole thing, so that plays into it. Arizona's not easy. And then of course you got Dallas after that. And now that's a primetime game. So like the first 6 weeks, you're just like, yeah, like you're getting smacked in the mouth like right away before your bye week there, and it's you're going to find out what type of football team you are pretty damn early.
I think that 2-game stretch is important. The Arizona week 5 and then Dallas week 6 on Sunday night, especially with the fact that you're going into the bye. That could be the difference between going 5-1 or 3-3 at the bye. And rather be 5-1.
I think I'll take 4-2 realistically, right? If I'm 4-2 coming into the bye, realistically, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, but like I said, that's a difference there where you could lose both and be 3-3, or you could go 1-1, be 4-2, or you can win both and be 5-1. Like, you want to get the most. You want to win those 2 games. This is where you see Jalen Hurts, and if he improves or not in these 2 games. If he can get at least one of these wins, we're hoping for both, but if he can get one of those wins, then that he's made improvements or not. I feel like, because these are 2 teams.
I think those first 6 weeks in general. I think that first 6 weeks in general is going to be huge for what what his development is. Because you look at it, you go like, hey, like you're going to have to play well in those games. Can't turn the ball over. Stupid decisions, silly things. Like you got some good defenses there. We're just scrambling out of empty pockets. Isn't necessarily going to play to your benefit. But yeah, I mean, that's scary. You got Pittsburgh week 8. Doesn't get any better. Finally, you're like Houston week 9. Like, thank you. Finally, somebody that like you're just like, it's a complete like mismatch, and we just feel like you're just overwhelming them as far as what you are compared to what they are.
So you're going into the bye
week 8. By week 8, by the way, Kenny Pickett will be starting for the Steelers week 8. So
he should be. So then you got week 8 coming off the bye. We got Pittsburgh at home. I feel like that should be a win. They made a note that Pittsburgh is only starting 1 rookie on their team, and that's George Pickens. By this time, they're going to be 2. It's going to be Pickens and Pickett. But I feel like
but that offensive line is sketchy.
Oh, Pittsburgh always has a sketchy offensive line. They can draft all the wide receivers they want, but for some reason they can't draft the offensive line. They got the wide.
But I'm a big fan of Pickett. I think that kid's a stud. I think some guys just have it and other guys don't, and you just watch him be like, yeah, he's got it. Like he just has it. Like
And even Pickens, I think George Pickens was a steal for him at wide receiver. He's looked great at times in training camp. Then week 9, you got Houston at Houston. It's on Thursday night, so you're going to do the game against Pittsburgh, and then you got a short week going into Houston.
And that's always sketchy. Like, you got to go to Houston on a short week. Yeah, I know they're a bad football team, but that's how you have that, there's like weird losses that happen in your schedule where, like, how'd you lose that game? You go to Houston on a short week, and you got to travel to Houston. You're like, I don't, like, this is just, how'd we get stuck with this schedule? Like, who was mad at us?
And then I got to see who Houston has week 8. Houston, the week before, they're at home against Tennessee. So they get to stay home against Tennessee and then play us. So then they don't have to move where we're going to be home, but then we got to go to Houston for a
who's their quarterback?
Houston Davis Mills. He actually did.
Oh my God.
He actually did good last year. He didn't do bad. He didn't do great. He did good.
No, he was okay, but I mean, good Lord. You're trying to get the top pick in the draft so you can go get one of these top QB prospects.
But if you look at who he had to throw to last year, like, he did have Cooks, but everybody else was like no names. But that should be a win. But I wouldn't be surprised. But that could be one of those games where we go in.
You got to scrap it out. Yeah, like you win by a field goal at the end, and you really scrap it out.
Yeah. And then what luck do we have where we go in from a Thursday night game and then we don't have to play until
another
Monday
primetime
night
game
next week? So we got 10 days. So we have Pittsburgh 1 o'clock, then we have Houston in the Thursday. So that's 3 days. But then we get 8 days instead of 7 off in between. And we have Washington on Monday night. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think by that point you're going to kind of see how the divisional picture's playing out. And I'm with you, Tom. Of course, never is right. I mean, it's exactly. I'm 1,000% Tommy. Right. I want to see this team ready to smack people in the mouth from week 1, and I think the first 6 weeks of your schedule, you got to be that's got to be your attitude with it. But yeah, by week 10. I'm already, how high I am on Washington this year. The Cowboys, I think, are going to implode. The Giants stink. So at least Washington is your biggest competition in the NFC East. I think they're good enough, and their schedule is favorable enough where they can make some noise. And this is going to be, you kind of see how the playoff picture is starting to kind of develop from the divisional perspective and the wild card perspective and all that. And this becomes a huge game at that point. You're probably. This is probably a game where, we probably have like a 1-game lead in the division sort of thing, and Washington, could put themselves right back in the race, by beating us in a primetime game on Monday night sort of thing.
I marked this on my calendar right here as one of the most important games on this year, because we're going to have basically a week and a couple of days to prepare for Washington. Just like we said, we feel like they're going to be our main competitors for first place in the division. It's at home on prime time, Monday night. We have to
Chase Young will be back by then.
Yeah, we have to win this game. We can't slip up here. We lose here. That could be big, and that could be big in deciding the fate of Jalen Hurts as the guy.
It could sway some late season momentum in a direction you don't want it to go.
So then the next week we have week 11. We got the Colts.
Colts and then Green Bay. That's fun. Let's go. We got the Colts and Green Bay.
Yeah.
Let's go to Indy and then let's be home at Green Bay in primetime. That's what I want. Aaron Rodgers in primetime. Oh, that's fun.
I think Indy could be a slip-up game, especially coming off of that Washington game. I think that Indy's
another team that could be pretty good. Indy's a team with a lot of talent, and you don't know by week 11 you're going to know what they're going to be. If they're in the heart of the playoff picture, that's another game where you're like, oh my God, like Jesus.
Chase Young injured his ACL against some kind of practice outside the facilities, so he might not even play there. I still feel like we could beat Green Bay. I feel like it will be a tough game.
Yeah, we could beat all these teams.
Yeah. I think we should beat them.
You just won't.
I think we will. It'll be at home.
No, I mean, you're not going to beat all of them. I said, realistic, I think we're good enough to beat everybody on our schedule, but obviously that's not going to happen.
Yeah, but I feel like Indy's going to be a slip-up game, then we're going to come back playing better against Green Bay on prime time. Then you got the Titans at home at 1 o'clock. I could see. I think we should win that. I think by then.
That's the guy. I like the way our schedule ends. December looks pretty favorable.
I think that's the game where Malik Willis makes his debut. I don't think Ryan Tannehill.
I don't think
season.
Tennessee's one of my picks to implode. Like the Cowboys implode. There's always a few teams that implode. I think Tennessee's going to be bad this year.
We're at the Giants. The Giants, no matter how the Giants are, they always play us great, especially
find a way to play you tough.
In New York. I want to say we're going to win this game, but I feel like each year there's those off years where they split the series with us, but we should get that one. The Bears, we have to beat the Bears, even in Chicago. Justin Fields is looking better, but we should beat them. By then, they've been getting rid of a lot of guys, restructuring. I'll
tell you what, the Bears. Am I crazy for thinking the Bears could be a playoff team?
If Justin Fields plays the way that he should, they could.
He looks like a pimp. I think Justin Fields is going to be an absolute stud.
Yeah. Then week 16, you've got the Cowboys in Dallas. I could see that as a loss because I feel like Dallas is going to be playing for the playoff hopes, I feel like, at that time. And we could be going into that game with a couple losses. And I just feel like Dallas we always split the series with Dallas. It's always 1-1. So I feel like this is the game where Dallas takes. That Saints game could be big because a lot of people are having this hype on the Saints. There's big time hype on them as a team. It's either they're going to be great by then or they're not going to be good. I know
they're always going to be great. Every year the Saints are going to be great, and then they're not.
Yeah. I still think with it being home, I give us the advantage. We played them well last year and the year before. And then you have the game at home against the Giants to be dated right now, of course. I think I'm going to mark that as a win because I feel like it's at home. I feel like if anything, if we split the Giants, they take their home game and then we take our home game. I could see this anywhere from 13-4 to 11-6. But then
I think 11 is more realistic.
Yeah, it just depends on those two swing games that I talked about.
But even when you look at that schedule, I mean, 11 wins with that schedule is legit. You're like, yeah, that's a really tough schedule, and you kind of back up the idea of you being one of the better teams in football by winning 11 games with that schedule. Who cares? Great, good for him. I mean, is Jason Peters like? I mean, does he need money this bad or something? Like, I don't understand. Like, you can't miss football that much at 40. I mean, good Lord.
Yeah, but let me switch over real quick because you got like 3 or 4 minutes to talk about the Phillies. As it looks right now, the Phillies won today. Whoa, the Colorado came back and tied Milwaukee, so it's 6-6 going into the top.
That does nothing. That does nothing for me now that I needed the Reds to lose by less than 4 runs and they lost 9-3. So.
And then Arizona's beating San Diego 4-0 right now. So as the picture stands right now, the Phillies are half game up on Padres for the second wild card at the moment. And then, of course, the Milwaukee Brewers are 2 games back. So say both teams lose, we'll be a game ahead of Padres and then 3 ahead of the Brewers. We said last week we had to have a great West Coast trip. We sucked on that trip. We went 1-6. But then somehow, like I said last week, we had the gift from the gods to where both of the other 2 teams did do well either. So we wind up only losing a game on what we had. We were 3 games up on the Brewers by that time before the West Coast, and now we're only 2. So we kept stride with what we had, so we got lucky. Aaron Nola had a good game today, but it got kind of killed by, of course, Brad Hand. But we did pick up the victory here. This is a stretch now where we're at home where we need to win these games to keep that lead and to possibly extend it because we don't want to be having to go crazy at the end of the season hoping we get help. We want to control our own destiny. We got the Marlins 2 games, we got the Nationals 3 games, and then we got the Marlins again for 3 games before we play the Braves. We need to win as many of those games as possible going into that Atlanta series. But I'll let you get the last word before we get going here because we only got 2 minutes left.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a good spot. The Padres are just imploding. They look just absolutely awful as we get, deeper into the stretch drive here.
Yeah.
I was all over the Diamondbacks play tonight. Merrill Kelly's been pitching well, and Joe Musgrove has not been pitching well over the past month. It's you kind of look like if you're just in a position where you could play 500 ball down the stretch and you're going to make the playoffs at this point because the Padres aren't going to do anything to really put you in a tough spot. So I mean, we're in a good spot. It'll be fun. It'll be fun as we get deeper into September to really have this excitement level build up, and then watching playoff baseball for the first time in over a decade is it's going to be hype. Going to CBP, I wish I was. There's one time I wish I was back in the area because it'll be fun. It'll be a fun environment to be at the bank for a playoff game again.
Especially, but before we wrap things up, how about you tell everybody about Manscaped?
Well, Manscaped, been hearing all about them. They just continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger, right? And with A2D Radio here, you can get 20% off plus free shipping with the code A2D at manscaped.com. 20% off plus free shipping with the code A2D at manscaped.com. Time to throw out your old hygiene habits and upgrade your life. You can't beat a deal like that. And, it's not something I'll obviously benefit from, but, Daniel, maybe you'll be somebody that'll benefit from it. I know we have plenty of people here that will. I'm just not one.
Exactly. But we'll be back next week. We'll do a little bit of talk of a week 1 recap with the Eagles Lions. We'll talk about the preview of that primetime week 2 matchup against the Vikings. Hopefully, like you said, we could get Alan Boy on to talk about that matchup since he's a Vikings fan. We'll see where the Phillies are in the playoff race. And then maybe we'll talk a little bit of NCAA football with extra time that we have since we got cut off from that with a special show coming up with you. But, of course, this is the weekly roundup. I am Dan. This is Zach. And we will see you guys next week for another edition of Weekly Recap.